Now, what we're going to do is there's different game types, and the first one we're going to work with, which is deathmatch, which is basically just run around and you shoot each other. I'm not advocating violence. I'm just this is what this engine's built for, and then people adapt it for other things, and it's easier to just use the pre-existing game types. At the later in the semester, we can look at creating custom game types. So we need to define, and the way you define it is you do File, Save As, and where you want to save these is if you actually look. This is Unreal Development Kit 2012-7, UDK game content maps. So you need to drill down. This will default to it, and these are different pre-made levels, which all the levels are called maps. And what I recommend doing is creating a new folder and calling it custom. And then inside custom, you can create your own map. You'll see there's two extension options, .udk and .mobile. This is for iOS, and I guess you can also do it with Android now. But we just want to use the UDK. So let's see, I'll use my last name, level 1, and then I'm going to do a version. So this is level 1. And then I will add the .udk extension and hit save. Okay, so now I have that saved. Now if I go to play at this point, it doesn't make any difference, it's the same. Now if I go back and I go to do save as, and rather than just doing it this way, I add what's called a game type extension, capital D, capital M, dash, which stands for deathmatch. When Unreal goes to open that file, it will automatically say, oh, this is a deathmatch game type, and it'll actually load all the requirements for that. So if I hit save again, now we have the deathmatch, and now if I hit play, I get a gun and do all kind of different things like that. So that gives us some abilities. Let's turn the volume down, etc. So now that we have a deathmatch, if we go back and we try to build it again, we're not getting any complaints. The one thing that's missing at this point, if you want to play this game, is there's no what's called player starts. So if I actually go to properly play this game and look at it, it says could not spawn player, could not find a starting spot. So we have to create what's called player starts, which tell the engine where the game to start. First-person shooters and all the basic Unreal game types require 16 player starts. That's going to be a little tight in here. For the time being, we'll just add one, add actor, add player start. And what you can do is you want to make sure that they're not too close to the wall. Let me just maximize so you can see. So there's a player start, and if you look at it, you'll actually see that there's an arrow. So you can have it point in different directions, and that's the direction the character would face when they start. So if you do this in the corner, when you start, you'll be looking in the corner. So that's the option for that. And the other thing we want to do is, if we move this, I just want to show you a couple things. If you move it too close to the bottom, it says bad size. And what that means is it means that when your character is created, your character is going to be intersected with the ground. Likewise, if you go and you move this over into that space, let's move it up, and then we move it into the wall, you will get an error when you build it as well. It's not going to say bad size, but it'll say that basically the player start is too close or intersecting. So the best thing to do is usually it defaults, but if you're not sure, hit the N key, END, which is usually at the top of your, above your keypad. Hit it and it will automatically drop to the bottom. So that's a pretty handy thing to have. Now, if you want more player starts, go into the top view. Now let's maximize this. And there's a couple easy ways to copy things. If I hold down the Alt key and move, well, actually rotate or scale, hold down the Alt key, it drags off a copy. So now we have 2. And if I hold down Control and Alt at the same time, I can border select, hold down Alt. Now I got 4. And then hold down Control and Alt again to border select. Hold down the Alt key and drag off a copy. And do that again. I got 12. And do it one more time and I have 14. So these aren't, you normally wouldn't want to do this. You'd want to have different teams in different locations because they're all going to be in the same. And what will happen is it will randomize through these as you play. And it will spawn different points as opposed to just having one basic point. Usually you want to think about game design. For this level, you don't necessarily have to have 16 player starts. You can just have, ideally you want 2. If you have 1, everything's going to be created at the same place. So let me show you what will happen. You get some weird results. If you just try to do, okay, let's just go play. So while I'm in this space right now, there's nothing, no enemies or anything that currently exist. So if I do tab, which opens up the console at the bottom, I do add bots, and let's do 20. Okay, so you can see right now it's not adding any bots at all, which are the AI characters, and that's because I haven't built this. What I need to do is I need to actually build this, what's called a path node, this player start, and actually embed it into the gameplay version. So I'll do build again. You'll see here there's AI paths. The player start is where AI path starts. So I'll just build everything. Close. I got no errors again. What I'll do is it'll just keep on adding more and more AI characters as you continue doing that. So the 16 is handy to have, and ideally that's what you would want, but it's not required this time around. So we got, we created a space, we added a light, we added a player start, and then we did what's called building the environment, and we also ended up testing these out and adjusting the zone. Now when I go, probably a lot of you are familiar with this, I should have mentioned this earlier, but when you play the move forward, I'm using W to move forward, S to move back, A strays left, D slaves right, and then if you hold down mouse, it moves around. Your secondary, and then if you use the middle mouse button, which thing, it cycles through the different weapons. And then tab pulls up your console. The one handy console option is to do set name, and then I can say Drew Bot. Okay. So what'll happen now is anytime anyone sees my name in the game, it'll basically say Drew Bot. So that's kind of a handy way to let people know what's happening. So for the most part, those are the basic items. So what I want to do is just briefly show you how you can expand this and start to make something a little bit bigger. So let's go back into the top viewport, and what I'm going to do is I'll maximize this because we don't really need the size for the time being. I'll hit Control-Alt to border select everything. Now if I don't want the light, I hold down the Control key, it deselects that, and also I deselected the player start. So now let me zoom out a little. I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and now I just copied all that room. Now if I actually wanted to play at this point, let me zoom out so you can see where it is. If I want to play, this wouldn't exist, and that's because it hasn't been built, even though the shapes are there. So if I do a build all and create it and close, and voila, now that shape is there. Now there's no light in this, you might have noticed, so we can do the same thing of select the light, hold down the Alt key, and move the light in there. And now that space has a light as well. Now how do we connect the two of those? So let's go back into the top view. And actually we'll want to do multiple views with this. You can draw a brush out by hand, or usually what I find is easier is just to copy those two again. So choose Control and Alt, and grab all those again, and disable or deselect those two items. And then hit Alt, and let's come in, and now we have our center. And let's go in and adjust these. Now if you look close, you'll see that the subtraction is yellow and the positive is blue. So let's deselect these, and let's just select one, and there's the yellow. And I can do scale, and let's pull this down and make it a little narrower. And then it also doesn't need to be that wide, so I'll bring it and line it up. Now the one thing you want to make sure, if it's perfectly lined up, it's okay, but if it's just like 1 unit too short, then what will happen is you won't see the hole. So I'm basically pulling the positive or the negative cutter through the wall of the other room, let me shrink this down so it's a little clearer what I'm doing. Okay, so here's the blue room, the blue wall. So now that's sized, and then this basically you just make the same or close to the same size. So now if I deselect, you can see it's not the cleanest thing, and ideally if you did everything numerically, you can go into edit, you can get it pretty clean, but this is good enough for what we're doing. Now I'll go and I'll go in, and this is kind of a little big, so let's just change this a little. So let's go into the side and front view, and I'm going to decrease the height. So this is about half the size, and I'll move that down. And the one thing you kind of want to make sure, you see how that's snapping a little too much. If I go to the left of 16, I can knock this down to something like 4. And now I can use it. Ideally, you want perfect registration, because if not, you're going to have a bump in the floor. So you can see right now those are exactly lined up. And then we want to do the same thing with the positive shape, even though you don't have to. But I'm going to shrink it down. So we'll get that smaller, and we'll take it and move it in. And now what we've done is we've created a tunnel. This might be a little too small, but we'll see. Okay, so let's pull up the whole viewport, and once again, you're not going to see anything until I do build. So build all, and close, and now you can see I have a tunnel. And if I go down into this space, and if I look, you'll see I have this opening that I can move through and around. So let's do. Now we have it all built, and we got the light. So now I can do a play. And if I just do play level, play here in viewport, I can do it different ways. And now you can see that I have this space, and I can go through and over into this space. So your homework assignment is basically to make a simple level. You can get really complicated with these. There's all these different type size brushes. You basically add and subtract. I don't want you to work with anything besides player starts, lights, basic brushes, and adding and subtracting them. So then I would save this once again, so I'm all done. Save, current level. And I can exit out if I wanted to actually play this in the proper Unreal game, which is how we'll do it in class. We can go into the development kit again, and then there's the game. And in order for the game to see it, you have to have the DM extension for Deathmatch, and you also have to have it inside that folder that I showed you, the maps folder. Because that's where the game looks. If you don't have your level in that folder, okay, let's go to instant action and let's start the game. And there we go. So if I hit fire, the game will start 1, 2, 3. Right now there's no one else around because I only have that one player start. So if I went add bots, let's do 20. Escape to get out. Exit. And that's it. And you can exit the game, and I'll close up the shell. You can also hit the Windows key and it'll get out. So that's the end of the first tutorial. Save that file and bring it to class, and then we'll collect all of them and we'll play them next class. Okay.